Hey, how's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Saturday. It is the weekend. Hope everyone's having a good weekend out there. 10:21 a.m. California time. February 8th, 2025 is the date. Latest activity shows a 3.0 earthquake across the Santorini area of Greece. Continued earthquake swarming going on across this area around the Santorini and the Kilauea Volcano Region. Really nothing in terms of any drastic updates here overnight. Newer article put up here on the site, the Volcano Discovery site. The Greek authorities looks like they've decided to keep schools on Santorini and the nearby islands closed until at least February 14th as a precaution in case stronger quakes do occur in the area. No significant change in the earthquake activity has occurred today, although one can observe a weak decrease in intensity overall compared to a few days ago. This is just according to the folks here, the Earthquake Planning and Protection Agency. A series of earthquakes continue, obviously. In the past 24 hours, there has been one quake of magnitude 5.1, 13 quakes of magnitude 4 and 5, as well as hundreds of smaller tremors clustered again, of course, around the area of Santorini. A little bit of movement here, migration in this fashion. I think that's noticeable in the last couple days. Bigger and larger quakes are happening in this region towards the Santorini area, away from the clustering that's going on. Had a number of earthquakes there in the 5 range and the 4 range, leading towards the Santorini area. Look at this one, pretty close to the island. 4.6, that was today. That's what I'm talking about in terms of keeping an eye on things here in terms of migration pattern. And it looks like we're starting to see a migration pattern here down to the south. And I think that's just due mainly because it does take more pressure to build up underneath the region over a larger area, or if it's migrating to the region here. USGS model, let's go ahead and zoom in here, take a look at where that 5-pointer struck early this morning. A little closer to the swarming region, but as you can see here, that we had a number of 4s more recently here to the south. And very close here to the Santorini volcano area. Nothing directly underneath this region yet, according to the USGS. There is a few small quakes here, as noted on this map. 2.6, that was back on the 3rd. Really just some very small microquake activity around that region in the last couple days. There's a 3-pointer from yesterday, 5 kilometers deep. So until, unless something changes out here where we see an eruption across this area, and it may not even be associated with specifically with Kilauea volcano, it may be associated with who knows what, maybe a new blowout somewhere. These guys are still leaning towards the verbiage, the verbal word of that these are earthquakes, and nothing to do with volcanic activity. Look at this right here. The OASP, which is the Earthquake Planning and Protection Organization, said that the seismicity remains stable and has no relation to, they even capitalize that. No relation to volcanic activity, folks. Wow. That's, I don't even know what to say about that. I think they're off on that to an extent, but I guess we'll see. Here's the seismograph stations there. One could probably say that there's a little bit less earthquake activity, but the number of 4s and 5s are staying pretty consistent. And it looks like it really kicked up here just after, this is, I think this is local time or UTC time here, but it's been about 7-8 hours since a 5-pointer and a bunch of 4s in there as well. Compared to late last night and a little bit of yesterday, yeah, we had some openness out there on that seismograph chart showing, not a whole lot of earthquake activity. There's some, but today looks a lot different in that fashion in terms of elevated uptick. And again, I'm leaning towards this being a volcanic activity, folks. I've said it, and I'll continue to stick with it. It's got a migration pattern here that you would see when the pressurization underneath this region is, getting stronger, swelling. Right? There's even been some chat about the land rising out there. I'm not for sure what I did with my maps here. It might be on this one. This is just another layout here of the earthquake activity. The land rise, and look at the number of quakes. Obviously, things have gone up there across. This is a different volcano. Let's see. Fractures out there across the Sea of Crete and the Aegean Sea. That's okay. Here we go. Here's our GPS. Looks like this came from this website right here. I'm going to have to look more into this. Ground elevation changes observed on satellite radar data. Now the Santorini caldera, of course, is going to be right here. There's a little cone feature. That cone feature normally pops up out of the water right before an eruption. And that's what it's been like for quite a while. But in the blue here, around the cone area and the eastern side of the caldera, closer to where the swarm would be over here, we got some vertical uplift going on, and that's fairly obvious on this model. This model, not so much. It's more around the cone area, a little bit up here across the eastern area of the caldera wall, but it's visible. So I still think it's volcanic activity, and it's something we're just going to have to watch and wait and see where this migration leads to. I think is something to watch pretty closely as well. Seismograph stations out there right now look pretty quiet. A couple small spikes there on. It's going to be a 4D station down here across the Crete area. But, there's noticeable earthquake movement. But what's causing that earthquake movement? Is it due to swelling underneath this area? This looks identical to the Iceland activity there prior to when we started seeing the regular intervals of eruptions there across the Svartsengi area, Grindavik, and that region over a year ago, which are probably getting ready to come up on another eruption there across the area again. But we'll check that out a little bit later. Anyway, it's something to watch pretty closely here, folks. One of the latest quakes, 4.6, very close here to the specifically the caldera area at the Santorini region, registering looks like 1,611 earthquakes, and that's probably just what these folks are reporting. The number is actually well over 7,000 or so, and that's what's happening. No major changes there for now, but this is the last 24 hours here, and it looks like yesterday, was a little bit quiet. They mentioned that in the article. We only seen a number of 4s out there, but today, right after midnight my time, started off with a 4-pointer, and then we started getting up into the magnitudes, and it's been fairly consistent here with earthquake activity in the 4 range, and of course that 5-pointer, as noted on the seismograph station here, the recorded seismograph station. So this covers the last 24 hours. So it's a watch, wait, and see. Watch, wait, and see for now. I'm going to look into the these websites here a little bit later, see if I can pull up some more information on them. But for now, folks, we'll check out the rest of the model out here, see what we have for any large-scale activity. Largest magnitude in the last 24 hours looks to be a 5.2 across the Vanuatu area. 101 miles deep here underneath this region. Subduction zone that sits here north of Port Vila. Not a big earthquake. Some movement up here into the Russia area early this morning as well, 5.1. It's been a while since we've seen the activity across that plate boundary. It's a little odd. But some 5-pointers out here. No 6-pointers yet. California area. Let's go ahead and zoom in here to the west coast. 2.5 model and above. Got some activity stirring up in the geysers area. This is nothing to do with geysers, but everything to do with hydrothermal operations out there. A lot of geothermal fields taking advantage of the heated areas below, creating energy, but also at the same time, earthquakes are induced. 3.3 San Martin area. That earthquake from yesterday, that's off the Calaveras fault zone. Let's see. So far today, 2.5 geysers, 2.7 Petrolia, 2.9 Petrolia. A couple earthquakes out in Nevada yesterday as well. So generally small microquake activity out here today. The Bay Area fairly quiet, only a handful of smaller quakes. Long Valley super volcano up here. A couple very small quakes, but they've been seeing a little bit of off and on swarming here. But nothing big. I've seen this area really start to kick up swarming here a few years back. But things are just kind of off and on there. That is a super volcano in California. San Andreas Fault looks pretty quiet for the most part. Southern California, roughly about the same. Nothing major going on here. Just a little bit of swarming across the southern end of the Elsinore Fault. But these are generally very small microquakes, so nothing of really newsworthy value there across the west coast for now. The Yellowstone area. Let's go ahead and check out Yellowstone. I'll pull that up real quick. See what we have. Pretty quiet conditions prevailing out there. A little bit of wind from yesterday morning and afternoon. That has since died off. Left it clear in terms of the seismograph readings. One earthquake. Maybe a couple. 1, 2. But that's about it. Really no major earthquake activity to note there. But it looks like the USGS really not showing those two smaller quakes, but they probably will on Monday. It is the weekend, so for the most part, the smaller quakes there across certain regions will not show up on the USGS map until after review. Oil fields of Texas, Oklahoma, consistent earthquake activity. I say consistent because that's just what's going on out there in Texas. This is the new earthquake country. With these oil fields and the oil boom, this has really gone up in terms of earthquake activity. 445 earthquakes in the last 30 days. That will continue. Some of those can get rather big as well, up in the 5 range. Not as often as these 2s and 3s, but they do happen. Eastern portion of the state's pretty quiet. Let's take a look here at the earthquake 3D model. Aside from the obvious activity, ongoing activity across the Santorini region, Japan awfully quiet here today. Typical clustering going on here in the crunch zone. I say the crunch zone because this is where, well, pretty much where all the plates tend to react and subduct and collide here with one another. Notice the general fashion of the arrows here, pointing the GPS movement of the plates all around the Indonesia Islands area, Taiwan, Japan region. So it's very common to see earthquake activity in this type of clustering on any given day there in the 4 and even sometimes in the 5 range. A couple 5s out there from yesterday across the Java Trench, a little sequence of events, nothing big happening. A little rift boundary activity out here across the Indian Ocean. That is from yesterday. Near the Carlsberg Ridge. This is just added on to the elevated events here recently across many different rift boundaries. Ethiopia rift boundary looks quiet today. The Rift Valley out there has been quite active in the last 30 days with a number of decent quakes. No eruption out here. They thought we were going to see or a few folks thought we were going to see an eruption out here. Even talked about it, but nothing has happened yet. But something's, on a broader scale happening underneath this entire area that's affecting many different rift boundaries and potential volcanic activity up there around Greece. Look at that odd earthquake up in Russia. It's 5.1. I don't recall the last time we've seen something up there. Let me check out historical data here. Earthquake's going to be not so common up here. It is a plate boundary, but not like a subduction zone here across this region. Historically, it looks like there's been a number of quakes up here, but very small, far and few in between there. Not a whole lot of seismic activity across this area. New Zealand still sitting down there. It's not moving anywhere. Not yet. But it, obviously still got some concern for some larger scale activity here across the region. It's certain areas have been building up some steam out there for quite a while. Nothing big to report down there for now. Let's see, Middle America Trench quite active, but that's common on any given day. Same for the South America area, the subduction zone of the Peru-Chile Trench. The Atlantic Ocean, as you can see, north and south here, pretty quiet. Not a whole lot to report. So all eyes right now on the Santorini area. I guess it's good that they're keeping the schools shut down and people away from the area until the 14th of February. So we'll see what happens between now and then. Let's go over and check out Hawaii real quick. See what's going on there across Kilauea Volcano. A whole lot going on out there in the news, but really I try to stay away from it all in terms of the chaotic noise. All right, Kilauea Volcano still sitting at an orange and a watch level. I believe we are currently at a pause. Let's take a look here at the webcams up at the summit area. Still at a pause. Obviously, there's still volcanic gases out there from two of the most recent areas of eruption. But I think we're at number 8 in terms of the episodes here. Episode number 8 of the ongoing eruption ended abruptly at 7:23 p.m. on the 4th. So here we are 4 days later. Yeah, I was just going to mention this here. This has been the rinse and repeat scenario. About 4 days or so before things start to kick back up again. And that's also dependent on the supply down below, right? In terms of magma. That's monitored with deformation data right here. So let's see what we have. There's the pause back on the 4th. Since then, been going up. Going up a little bit here, but if you look, this most recent eruption was a pretty hefty drop, it looks like, in terms of the deflation. The last comparable deflation event looks like it took a little while to build back up. So I'm thinking probably sometime tomorrow we'll see that kick back up. Make it about day 5 or so before another eruption across that area. Just a rinse and repeat cycle. Goodness. Space weather activity here today. Well, I had my hopes up here for this massive sunspot region, 3981, and a group of friends out there. But looks like things have, they're still fairly complex within this sunspot core area. Might see another M flare or two. But it's getting out of sight, getting out of mind here off the western limb, and we're left with a whole lot of nothingness out here. Not a whole lot of sunspots out there capable of producing anything in this area of the Earth-facing side of the sun. So that flare threat will go down here soon. Right now, these guys showing a 25% chance. I never did bump mine up to 25% chance because I really don't see the complexity needed to produce a large X flare. It's been M and C flare activity, but that's what these guys are calling 70% chance for an M flare. As far as auroras go, well, we do have a little bit of high-speed solar wind stream flowing from this coronal hole here, 13. We'll also have number 14 coming in here in a couple days. There's the latest imagery. So that has passed us now. Takes about 72 hours or so for that high-speed solar wind stream to reach Earth, and it looks like we may see some unsettled conditions here for the auroras potentially tomorrow night or so. Of course, that has been facing us. This is an older image. The most recent image here shows that area past the Earth-centered view of the sun. So tomorrow night, maybe see some auroras out here. I guess we'll see what happens. But really nothing major in store for the aurora watchers for now. Next close approach asteroids here. Looks like they bumped up the percentage of getting hit by 2024 YR2 in the year 2032. It was at a 1.7, dropped to a 1.3. Now, from what I hear, it's up to a 2.1. So the chances there will bounce around for a little bit until we get closer to that date. They may go up, may go really up, and it may go down again. I still have to cover that in a strictly in update video for that asteroid that's going to be here in a few years. But as far as the ones that are close approach in the near term, things pretty safe out there, I would say. Millions of miles away. Closest one looks to be a 120-foot airplane-sized asteroid, 830,000 miles, which is fairly safe. All right, Storm Prediction Center for severe weather. Not a whole lot of severe weather out there for now. Got a marginal risk for some, what do we got, tornado out there? Nope. Wind. Looks like a little bit of wind. But that's about it. I don't mind a little bit of wind. That's kind of nice. Out here in California, taking a couple days break from the rainfall that we've had out here. It's quite soggy. It's going to be that way clear for a little bit until about Thursday or so. We got another storm system coming in on the west coast. This involves Southern California as well, with some decent precipitation model runs showing the burned areas getting hit with some heavy-duty rain. So that means that there's going to be potential for some flooding, flash flooding out there from the burn scars. That's all they need, right? But it's coming. Looks like some decent precipitation that headed that way. Northern California as well. After that storm system, well, a little break it looks like. Either way, up and down pattern here of storm systems and clear days. Let's check out the precipitation, total accumulated precipitation runs. Look at that across Southern California there. That's a couple inches, maybe 2 to 3 inches around that area of Southern California. Higher in the mountains, of course. So I guess, just be prepared for some mudslides out there. Looks favorable. As far as snowfall, see what we got down the road. California mountains, of course, always getting snow during these winter storms. Nothing forecasted there for the south. Off and on snow showers areas north here, it looks like, and across the northeast. The next couple weeks here show you guys the Climate Prediction Center outlook. This is the 8 to 14 day outlook. That's down the road. So let's check out the 6 to 10 day. That's a little bit more near term. West Coast average there, precipitation on the elevated side. Again, that includes Southern California. Well, it looks like below normal for Texas area. And of course that will change here eventually. Those are the hazards. Go over here to, that's weeks 3 and 4, 8 to 14 day. A little bit drier there across California in the long term, but again, Northern California is somewhat included in the storm track there. We'll see how this plays out, though. All right, quick glance here at the Greece Santorini area. Not for sure what that is here reading on that graph. It's a little interesting. But we'll continue to watch it. I'm watching these earthquakes that are migrating south very closely. It's all leading towards this area, right? Periodically, like today, we've seen that 4.6, 10 kilometers deep there, right around the Santorini area, with other earthquakes there in the region, kind of pointing towards that caldera. So we'll continue to watch it, folks, and report back on anything that changes out here. Hope everyone enjoys their day out there. Have a good one. We'll see you guys out here a little bit later on this evening. Didn't get a chance to do a nightly update last night. Been swamped here with some schoolwork, but going to make sure I jump on that this evening so we can get back to our nightly updates. Have a good one. We'll see you guys out here later.